It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast as we kick off our great sports weekend. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, the irreverent John Riley, who normally broadcasts from left field with his opinions. And for the next hour or so, we are going to talk sports. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations into San Diego. If you've got projects, we want you to look to them for materials. If you've got projects, look to them for ideas as consultants, DIXIELINE Lumber. And by North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido, with a very special offer for those of you who need vision tests. Think about this. Go to these people. These are the people we've done business with. North County Eye Center offering free eye exams when you tell them you listen to Hacksaw and North County Eye Center's commercials on our podcast, North County Eye Center. John, an unbelievable amount of late-breaking stories. You got a lot of topics on the table. Heading towards a great sports weekend.
Yeah, great sports weekend. You know, usually you send me the headlines a few hours before to get the graphics going, and then I'm just getting text messages, update this, add this on. It's something.
Now, before we get started, we do this podcast Mondays at 1 p.m. normally, Thursdays at 1 p.m. normally. At the tail end of every podcast, we turn the podcast over to you. We call it Fans Forum. John invented the idea. John is going to explain to everybody who's joining us right now on live stream how you can be part of the show. Fans Forum, John.
Fans Forum. Okay. We already see Jamie and the Hawk that are already in line. So if you got a question or comment for Leah, for anything in the world of sports, just type it in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum at the conclusion of Hacksaw's Headlines.
And a reminder, I have a website. I write on the website every day. You should check my website every morning. You won't find this volume of information anywhere else. And after you go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com, there's a big orange box on the homepage. Fill it out. Then you become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You'll get emails of all this special stuff that we're doing. We want you to share, tell everybody who we are and what we're doing now, because we did it on radio this way and it was a success.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what we're doing right now on live stream. It's bleeping brilliant. So share and subscribe. When you subscribe, and John, how do they do that on live stream? How do they do that?
Okay, well, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That's for one. You can subscribe on YouTube. You'll get alerts. And despite what you say, we're not doing it at 2 in the morning with the updates, but we do update periodically throughout the day. We've got content going, new stuff every day.
So join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. Lots to cover, some good, some bad, and in some very emotional. Right at the end, I'm going to make a statement about what today represents. John, you wanted to start with baseball.
The Padres are so frustrating. This series with the Angels, which is horrible.
The Padres situation's terrible, and now they're beset by injuries. 4 of the top players are now out. Manny Machado with the hip flexor injury. I'm glad it was not a hamstring, but hip flexors take time to heal. Machado is in the middle of a real bad slump. Now, he's dragged his batting average up to 244. We don't know how long he's going to be out. I would assume at least a week. This comes on the heels of the setback again for Yu Darvish with the groin. Maybe a week he'll start throwing again. The lengthier setback, Joe Musgrove. This could be another 4 to 6 weeks with the Padres. They're just in all kinds of shape right now. None of it is really good. And, of course, they don't have Xander Bogaerts. The guys they have are playing as hard as they can. Tatis had a 4-for-4 night. Cronenworth has had a real good bounce-back season. But there sure are holes other places. And the thing that's driving me crazy and driving him mad, errors, guys thrown out running bases, guys picked off. Can't believe how careless they are, how many runs that they have eradicated from the guys getting knocked off the base paths. So that's a big issue. Trade rumors. The rumors are out there that A.J. Preller's talked to Miami about veteran left-hander Jesus Luzardo. They tried to get him from Oakland a year ago. I've talked again to the White Sox about young right-hander Garrett Crochet. The problem is they're going to have to give up something significant. I was told the people are asking for Ethan Salas, the bright young catcher who's currently learning his trade at AA baseball. I just don't know that Preller is going to be allowed to do that. There may be other guys that he can trade for at a lesser price, but obviously they're shopping to try to find somebody they could plug in to the rotation. This is complicated because the Athletic and the UT are now both reporting that ownership has kind of inferred to A.J. Preller, we're not taking on bigger contracts any longer, and we want you to stop, quote, thinning out the farm system. So if they're mandating you can't make a deal to bring on somebody's $5 million contract, or they're mandating, no, you're not trading Ethan Salas or Leonardo DeVries, the Class A shortstop. Now, Preller doesn't have the assets to move because they want to see this roster grow with young guys, so that's an issue. And then on top of everything else, what we had with Tuku Marcano, the lifetime suspension in baseball. I guess I could call it a tragedy, but he's not a star. I guess I could call it stupidity. Yeah, very much so. I also guess I could call it he's the victim of where he came from. The bulk of major league, minor league players who've been disciplined by baseball in the more recent couple of years is that a large proponent of them come from Latin America, which probably means lack of education, probably means people he runs with he has not separated himself from. Problem is, guys are now making money that they've never, ever had before. $275,000, the minimum is $450,000. The next year's minimum goes up to $700,000. This is money that these people from dirt-poor Caribbean countries have never had access to. Now they got spending money complicated by who they're still hanging with. It's terrible that he would do this, Marcano. And what's even more shocking to me is there were 4 other players who've been suspended, those guys for 1 year, Marcano for his entire career, and a couple of them were Americans. Nobody pay attention to Pete Rose. Nobody reads the signs on the wall about gambling in major league clubhouses. Nobody listens to the spring training seminars the union puts on. I mean, one of them's a journeyman relief pitcher with the Oakland A's, Mike Kelly, who reinvented his career, and now he's gone for a year. So it's really sad, but I think the biggest issue to me is just the lack of education or the inability of players to understand the depths of the damage if you bet on sports, if you bet on baseball. So you got the Ohtani mess with Mizuhara, his personal aide. You got the ongoing investigation for David Fletcher. We're waiting results on that. And now you got this discipline. I think the odd thing is the companies that are doing the gambling have their own security division. They notified Major League Baseball of gambling irregularities on the accounts that these players had. They turned these guys into baseball security and said, we have noticed this. You better pay attention to this. So, I mean, the jurisdiction is out there. I think the help is out there with Major League Baseball. But I think what really bothers me the most was now we've seen all this in spring training with Mizuhara and Ohtani to Fletcher to these guys. I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I bet there's more out there that's happening with young players, minor league players who aren't paying attention, don't know the language, don't pay attention to the rules. I think it's just a bad scene. So that's where we are with the Padres as they skid home. It was awful when they lost that series to Colorado. It was bad at the end of the Miami series. They lost a game at Kansas City, and now they lose 3 to Team Utility Man, the Angels, who don't have any players. I asked you the question, can you name me anybody in the Angel lineup that scares you?
No.
End result. John, Padre fan, can you answer the questions without any expletives?
Oh, my wife and I were screaming at the TV last night. Like, how in the hell can you lose to the Angels 3 in a row? And, you know, you win, what was it? Schultz said they've won 9 of the last 11 series. If you've won 2 out of 3 for 3 series in a row, which is good, and then you go 0 for 3 in Anaheim, then you're back to square one. You just wiped out all those winning series. The Padres are so frustrating because they're sometimes they look great, sometimes they just look horrible. Just a few other comments. The Tucupita Marcano thing is interesting to me. I mean, I don't think it has anything to do with culture or, Latin America or anything, because, Jay Groom was one of the guys. You got Americans that get caught up in this. We have Mizuhara that got caught up in this. So I think it's just young kids that are immature, that feel invincible, like no one will ever catch me. And they just don't have like you said, the education to understand the history of Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson and all the other guys. That's the thing. But it was weird to me that Marcano was a lifetime suspension instant, where the Ohtani thing kind of dragged out. And then a few of the other guys just got a 1-year suspension. So I'm not getting this inconsistency.
Marcano's depth of the suspension and discipline is because he bet on baseball games. He bet on the Pirates while he was with the Pirates. Now, Jay Groom and these other guys, this happened 3 years back, 4 years back in some cases. They were in the minor leagues. They bet on Major League Baseball games. Can't do that. Or maybe they bet with a bookie. You can't do that. That's why they only got a 1-year suspension. They were not betting on their team while they were on the roster, etc. That's why Marcano's suspension was lifetime.
Do you think the Padres had any idea that this was going on when they signed Tucupita Marcano from waivers, or when they traded for Jay Groom?
No, not at all. And again, if it's not out there, how would you investigate what you don't know? And in case of Jay Groom and Mike Kelly, this was 3 years removed when they were in other organizations in the minor leagues, just killing time, placing bets. Well, and then there's the conflicting thing. We have all the sponsorships of all the casinos and all the baseball stadiums and DraftKings and FanDuel and Major League Baseball sponsorship contracts with everybody. Money comes pouring in. But now we got players that have violated the bylaws because they're gambling too. So now we have this argument, oh, well, if baseball can do all this, why is this not tolerable? Well, the integrity of the game is probably the indirect answer as to why gambling on baseball by players is not tolerable.
Not tolerable, but good on FanDuel and DraftKings for having the investigative staff and notifying Major League Baseball. Exactly. That's wonderful.
Okay, we go from Padre baseball, which has not been real good or very consistent, to Dodger baseball, which has really been on a skid.
Yeah, I mean, they just got swept by the Pirates, right?
Yeah, they got the Pirates this afternoon. But, yeah, they're losing games. I mean, they've lost 8 of their last 13. The first-place Dodgers with a $290 million payroll have lost 8 of their last 13. They got all types of injury issues here, and this probably plays in as to why this skid is where it is. The losses are piling up. James Paxton, all of a sudden, the free agent they signed out of Boston, doesn't look healthy. He's had 3 rocky outings in a row. He did not get out of the second inning and gave up 7 runs to the Pirates on Wednesday night. Walker Buehler has been up, has been down. He doesn't have any physical woes right now, but he's not the pitcher at this point that he was before. They're really concerned about the health of the guys that are still in the midst of rehab and whether or not there's somebody else who's going to jump up. They're finally getting some of the injured guys from the bullpen off the disabled list. And then the bottom 4 of the batting order is just killing them. I mean, I don't understand how Gavin Luck's 300 hitter is still batting 203, and I don't understand how vested veteran Chris Taylor's batting 108. And they sent James Outman out. He was hitting 197. Now he's gone to Oklahoma City. He's hitting 630.
630?
Bring him back. Yeah. Please, bring him back. Wow. So the Dodgers are just really streaky. So the pitching's an issue, the lack of hitting in the bottom half of the batting order, and then, of course, the Mizuhara situation. He officially pleads guilty in Santa Ana. 33-year prison sentence will be handed out in October. $1 million fine. I don't know how he makes restitution for $17 million that he stole from Ohtani. I'm just wondering if there are other connections out there involving Mizuhara, this gambler in Orange County, Matthew Boyer. I mean, if it involved Mizuhara and then it dragged David Fletcher in, I'd have to think, guys talk to guys, somebody else might be involved indirectly with Mizuhara or with Matthew Boyer. So I don't think we've heard the end of the story. And boy, fans in L.A., they don't like Dave Roberts. Despite the career 1-loss record, they just don't like what they're seeing. And here we are, the 1st of June, people are saying, that's not a first-place team. That team's not going to win the pennant. Well, it's a little early to wave any white flag atop Chavez Ravine, but the Dodgers right now, primarily because of pitching issues and the back end of the batting order, they're not what we expected.
Well, they're going to win the division. I mean, that's obvious. And if it wasn't for the Phillies being off to a monster start, you probably think the Dodgers could still win the pennant. But it's interesting. Paxton is hurt all the time, and now he's breaking down again. And I was listening to the Padre game or watching it last night, and Don Orsillo said that when the Red Sox won the World Series, what was that, 2004? That was the Dave Roberts stealing second base against the Yankees era. He said that all 5 starting pitchers took their turn in the rotation, and there were no injuries, no setbacks, no one skipped a turn. That's incredible. But the Dodgers are like the exact opposite.
Yeah. Well, so the Padres over the last couple of years prior to this season, they gave the ball 30 times to every one of those guys in the rotation. They had no breakdowns. But as I have told you before, Lecture 101, your pitching staff from one year is not the same the next year and obviously the year after. So the Padres now are breaking down, plus the fact Blake Snell's gone, Josh Hader's gone, etc. So it's tough. A 162-game schedule. If you have a staff, we always think back to great pitching staffs, and obviously Smoltz, Clavin, and those guys, Maddox in Atlanta, they were the epitome of greatness because they took the ball 30 times every year, year after year after year. And composite number of starts that rotation made in Atlanta were phenomenal, but that's the exception to the rule. That does not happen anymore. So that's where we are in Major League Baseball. Next topic, and I almost spilled my coffee when I got a text early this morning about this.
Yeah, Dan Hurley to the Lakers? This sounds pretty interesting.
This came out of nowhere, or at least they hit it pretty well. I mean, most everybody up until Wednesday was of the opinion it was going to be J.J. Redick from ESPN, no coaching experience. Redick's making all these calls to people about, would you join my staff if I do this? And it looked like he had some guys committed to come on board if he got hired. And, of course, Sam Cassell's had interviewed twice, but his name has just kind of gone into the shadows. I was told by an NBA guy that Mike Krzyzewski, and we talked about this about 2 weeks ago, Coach K is acting as a consultant for Jeannie Buss. And I think he has spoken glowingly about Redick. I believe he likes Sam Cassell based on where Sam has been as a player, what he's done as an assistant coach. But he has a relationship with Hurley that goes back a ways. And either he made the contact himself or the Lakers asked him to make the contact. And this thing happened real quick. Evidently, there's been one call already, and I assume it's a Zoom call. I'm led to believe there's a face-to-face meeting. If it's not on Friday, then it might be Saturday and Sunday. I was told the offer is going to be north of $10 million per year if he wants to leave. Hurley had just gotten a contract extension weeks after UConn won the NCAA tournament again, and I thought he was going to be a lifer. But other people have kind of intimated to me that this whole NIL thing, it just wears out the great coaches because they're dealing with guys that are getting tampered with. They're trying to recruit guys who are committing, then decommitting. All of us, it becomes a payday. It's not just going to UConn to get an education and be coached by this great head coach and a culture of winning. All of a sudden, there's all these other things on the outside of the circle, and coaches wake up one morning and say, I don't want to do this anymore this way. That might be what's happening there, because I thought he was committed as a lifer to stay in Storrs, Connecticut. But, I mean, his record's phenomenal, 151 and 148. I'm sorry, 151 and 48 in 6 years.
Wow.
And he's got all his NCAA titles, and now he's loaded the thing again with transfers and kids who've come back in who are going to the draft and decided, no, I'm coming back to UConn. So I'm a little surprised. But at the end of the day, when somebody offers you $10 million to start to be the coach of the Lakers, and I was told that the reason that the Lakers are drawn to him, and this has to do a lot with Krzyzewski, is this guy is an elite teacher. This guy coaches defense the way defense used to be played. And this guy has just enormous academic acumen in terms of basketball intelligence in the game. And if you watch the way UConn plays, that's a byproduct of who he is, what he teaches, and how the players respond. And evidently, King James has signed off on this.
Really?
LeBron like about 12 noon on Thursday, just before we came out on the air, went on Twitter, said, damn good coach. So maybe this is going to happen, and this happened real quickly. But I'm led to believe that Coach K, based on his relationship with Hurley and the Hurley family, may have made the call on his own and back to Jeannie Buss and said, I think I'm getting positive vibes from this guy in Storrs, Connecticut. And they said, wow, if they got him, yeah, I'd sign off on that document too, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we were looking at Sam Cassell and J.J. Redick, and we're like, this isn't quite right. I mean, Cassell would be good, but he wasn't going to get you excited. Getting Dan Hurley, I mean, this guy's the real deal. I'm surprised we didn't think of this like over the last couple of months,
But he had signed an extension. I mean, he pledged an allegiance in UConn 2 weeks after they won the title again, as if this is who I am and this is where I'm going to stay for my family. And all of a sudden, Coach K's on the phone.
Well, yeah. Well, show me the money, man. You got $10 million a year. You're going to take that gig, and I think it's great for the Lakers. Do you think his shtick? He's a great teacher, but he's like Mr. Hyperactive, control freak, and always in people's faces. Is that going to work? Was that going to rub pro players the wrong way?
It's a good question, but I think the intangible is you got AD and you got LeBron, and you got the rest of the roster that needs to be grown. And what's on his resume? Ability to teach young players.
Okay.
Hachimura, Austin Reeves.
Okay.
Whatever else is still going to be left on that roster to play a system that plays defense, which, by the way, they haven't played very much of in recent years. So,
wow, sounds good.
Coach K, holy cow, what a consultant he turns out to be. I think he was the one that made the contact.
Yeah.
Maybe on his own, out of friendship. And then, wow.
Well, I mean, imagine, just for the sake of the fun discussion, imagine if they hired Bobby Hurley. I mean, that would have been a real disappointment. But Dan Hurley, I mean, LA fans have got to be excited about the possibility.
Read the resume.
Yeah.
Period, exclamation point.
Exactly.
Here we go. We go from that. Let's talk about what's going to happen right now.
Yeah, it's the NBA Finals are starting. The Mavericks, are they like a number 6 seed? And they got all the way to the final game or the final series.
Dallas did not have any home court advantage in any of the playoff series, and they won them. They won every series, having to do it on the road.
That's awesome.
And they did it, obviously, with the two marquee players in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. The role players really stepped up. I thought did an absolutely amazing job there. So that's pretty doggone impressive. They got firepower. They're averaging 111 per game. They're shooting 48% from the floor. I think they're hitting 39% of their threes. And they got, for the first time in a while, the whole Dirk Nowitzki era, they didn't have a lot of depth. Well, they got depth behind the two big stars there in Kyrie and Luka. But Boston's got star power, and Boston's got talent, and Boston's got bench, and Boston's won 76 games this season, including the playoffs and the regular. 76 victories, and they're just blowing people out. I think Boston's going to win this series. Now, their coach is a little bit different, Dan Mazzulla. He's just really different in terms of substitution patterns and yelling at people, and players responded to him. And they've been building towards this. This whole thing goes back to the Danny Ainge era when he was the general manager, and they stockpiled volumes of picks, and they were going to get to the playoffs, and they kind of stalled, and they blew Ainge out, and they went a different direction. But this is a pretty good Boston team, pretty deep basketball team, and I'm picking Boston to win. I don't think they're going to sweep them. I just think Boston's got too much firepower and too many people off the bench, and Luka and Kyrie have to play way too many minutes to make this happen. Boston's averaging 117 a game. Boston's shooting just like Dallas's, 48 from the floor, I think 39 from the three-point arc, but they're doing it with a wider variety of guys. And they look down the bench, and I see that old dog Al Horford, and Horford at age 38 comes off the bench. He scores 24 points in a game.
That's unbelievable.
Comes off the bench, hits 7 threes in a game at age 38. Comes off the bench, blocks shots, rebounds. So I just think there's too much Boston, too much green for the Dallas Mavericks to win this game. And John Riley, standing out at the three-point arc. Don't shoot any air balls. Go ahead, give me a response.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Celtics are loaded. Now, they have that new coach. Remember the previous coach got in trouble, right?
Yeah, he got fired. He went to Houston a year after all those discipline issues and the issues with female employees. And Idem Udoka. He did a hell of a job with the Houston Rockets, and they're on the brink because they have a high draft pick.
Right.
They're on the brink of becoming a really, really good team. He's a good coach. He just made some bad decisions away from the court.
Well, good on the Celtics for recovering from that, because that could have set them back.
Yeah, but the players there.
The players are amazing. And guys like, Jason Tatum, we saw him at Duke. We kind of knew who he was. But a lot of these other guys like Derek White and Jaylen Brown, I don't really remember them from college days, but boy, are they great pros. But my heart is with the Mavericks. I kind of like this Kyrie Irving redemption story.
Sure.
I kind of like Mark Cuban having a shot at a title. So I'm going to be rooting for the Mavs. But if the Mavs win it all, I mean, maybe in 6 or 7, it's not going to be a lopsided affair.
I don't think it's going to be easy. I'm picking Boston. Okay, last basketball topic on the table. Hold on to your table because I got things to say.
This has been a big topic in the news the last couple of days, Lee. I want to hear your take.
This is really amazing what's transpired. We're talking about the arrival of Caitlin Clark out of Iowa after what she did on behalf of NCAA women's basketball and what she's done in the first couple of months in the WNBA. Their games are sold out. Their TV ratings are through the roof. Pay scales have gone up. They've resurrected a whole different set of rules on behalf of the union representing the women that Caitlin Clark has kind of brought to the forefront because of who she is. And instead, she's on a bad team. Indiana Fever just don't have a lot of players, homegrown product and all that. But she's been the victim of brutal fouls, and she's been the victim of really crappy treatment by other female players in the WNBA. And I don't quite understand it. I think it's jealousy. I think it's stupidity. I think it's kind of classless. She's a hard player. Does she talk trash? Yeah. But there's a lot more trash being talked by other people. And the hard fouls, she's had really violent fouls in 4 games in the last 2 weeks. Fouls that could have resulted in shoulder separation or a broken forearm. I'm talking hatchet shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the Indiana Fever went to the WNBA and said, this is not permissible. This is a great player who's getting butchered by the Angel Reeses of the world, who are then acting like punks celebrating on the sideline when Caitlin Clark gets knocked out of a game because she gets shaken up. I mean, we're talking forearm shivers to the neck, to the back, face-first plants after getting tripped. Mm-hmm. Just a lot of crapola. And then you see the Chicago Sky, led by Angel Reese, standing on the bench cheering and going, yeah. Now, Angel Reese has been fined a couple of times for what she just did. But why is it like that? And I stand up and say, that woman has meant so much to women's college basketball, and her arrival in the NBA has now made the whole thing very, very different. You need to appreciate, A, she's a star and how good she is, and B, what she's brought. Pay raises for all the stars in the league, more visibility, record TV ratings. By the way, you're not flying commercial flights at 12:05 a.m. You're now on charters every team because of the impact that Caitlin Clark's had. So I'm shocked how crappy people have been to her, and now the fans are starting to come to her side. There was an incident on Tuesday night where the Chicago Sky got hassled at a team hotel getting off the bus on a road trip because of what the Chicago Sky people, led by Angel Reese, did to Caitlin Clark. So now the fans are at the team hotel begging on these other WNBA players for doing what they did. So, John, you standing next to Caitlin Clark, or are you pointing at her across the court?
This is a complicated issue. Okay,
here we go.
And I mean, it's way beyond the scope of sports. Is she the golden goose that's bringing a lot of attention to the WNBA? Absolutely. That's obvious. She's getting punked because she's a rookie and because she's the star, and they're going after her for that, kind of like an initiation sort of thing. But is Angel Reese getting the initiation? Because she's a rookie too, right? So there's a bit of a disconnect, inconsistency here. People are saying this is race-based, and it depends on what angle you look at it. Because I think when white people see a black player pulling a thuggish move and knocking over a white person, I think some white people get all up in arms about it. And then other times, black people might react differently to that, and it turns into this racial thing when maybe that wasn't really the intent of the forearm shiver. It was mostly because she was the top of the heap. And the WNBA players are probably saying, well, we've been here for years. We've been kicking butt and, scoring points, and we're all stars. It's not just Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, but they may have been stars in a league that nobody paid attention to, and you were making horrible salaries, and your travel conditions were brutal. And this all flipped and changed with the new TV deals that were generated because of her. So respect the player. Is it like a fraternity or a sorority, and they're kind of punking her? Because I think it's deeper than that. And I think of Angel Reese, and the only thing I think is a year ago, LSU, when they eliminated Caitlin in the NCAA tournament, and she was the one who was walking down the court. My ring. Look at my ring.
Yeah, I remember that.
In her face, turned around. Look at my ring. Caitlin Clark didn't respond. Just walked away.
Well, but Caitlin Clark did it to her previously, and that's why the whole thing. You only saw the second punch, as it were, in that whole thing. This is nuts. The societal implications, and it's crossed over into mainstream news, and everyone else has got an opinion here. But have you ever seen any other sport, any other athlete that has gotten this initiation treatment?
Not in the WNBA. I'm sure some of that stuff goes on in the NFL and to a degree maybe in Major League Baseball, but not to the tune like this on national TV. It just kind of, wow. Now, the media is involved in this too.
Yeah, of course.
ESPN, they got some warring factions on ESPN. First of all, Stephen A. Smith pops off and is talking about Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, the incidents, etc. And he goes off on one of his tangents. If he was driving a car, he'd be going down the gully. He goes off on a tangent about, I support the NBA, WNBA, and I've talked women's basketball and all their stars for years and years. And one of the co-hosts, Monique McNabb, comes on and said, what are you talking about, SAS? You had 3 years to talk about the WNBA. You never mentioned the WNBA on any of your TV shows until Caitlin Clark showed up and became a conversation point. So she's African-American. She's begging on Stephen A. Smith. And then you got Pat McAfee. Former player turned loudmouth talk show host. So he's in the middle of this diatribe on ESPN also. And he calls her a white bitch. Why would you bring that into the conversation? That is a terrible thing to say. I mean, I never use that reference to an athlete or another person. I might criticize somebody, but I wouldn't. A white bitch. What a terrible thing to say.
Yeah, that's nonsense. And it's one thing if there are legitimate racial issues that are going on, but if it's not race, based, then why are people injecting race into it and making it a thing? Like the loudmouth talk show host, Pat McAfee. This is just remarkable. The media is all over this. But, we were talking a little bit about WNBA before, Caitlin Clark. I mean, even in our podcast, we've had some conversation about it. Some of the players there are tremendous.
Oh, sure. But the history of the great players, but they were great individuals. Now suddenly this becomes a great league because there's been such an influx of great players from South Carolina, from LSU, obviously Caitlin Clark from Iowa. There's a lot more, quote, talent level there. But Clark is the tip of the spear in terms of visibility for the NBA. The TV ratings are through the roof, and they never watched WNBA till she arrived.
Okay, conspiracy theory. So maybe they're, firing up the players to be aggressive because they know it's going to lead to more fans and more people watch on TV.
Okay, we're getting to halftime. Now, we have touched a lot of hot buttons here in the first half of the Thursday podcast. So the fans forum chat box is open. So if you got a comment about the up and down Padres, the Dodgers sure don't look like a championship team, your reaction to what Coach K might have just delivered to LA Laker basketball, your thoughts on the playoffs, or where do you stand on the Caitlin Clark situation, Angel Reese, and how she is being treated as the number one pick in the draft? Fans Forum box is open. John, just quickly explain again for everybody who joins us on live stream, because we involve the viewers right at the end of the show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Everyone's piling in from Winnipeg as well. We got a lot of people involved. If you've got a question or comment for Lee, any question in the world of sports, type it in the live chat, Facebook, X, or YouTube, and we'll get you involved.
And a reminder, we want you to share and subscribe. I don't know how you communicate with your friends, whether it's by Instagram, LinkedIn, text messages, emails. Tell them what we're doing Mondays and Thursdays on this podcast. And we want you to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you'll get the alerts every time we put something up on the YouTube channel, because we do that virtually every day of the week. And check my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. I write about sports. It's there every morning. And read my one man's opinion column about today. today. Today is D-Day, and what it means, my one man's opinion column on my website. We're at halftime. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you. Does not matter what the project is, whether it's in the home, it's on the back patio, might be at the workshop, in the garage, family room. You got projects. These are the people you should do business with. DIXIELINE Lumber. And our podcast also brought to you by North County Eye Centers of Poway and Escondido. You live in and around San Diego. You need help with your eyes. I want you to look at this offer that North County Eye Center has made, a free vision test for anybody who watches our podcast. And then, of course, a big discount, too, at North County Eye Center. Free vision test. You call them, make the appointment, tell them, hey, thanks for being on Hacksaw's podcast. They'll set you up for the free vision test. North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido. John, we get ready for the second half in just a minute. And we roll into the second half, and we've gone from baseball to talking lots of hoops. We're going to talk a little NFL football now, John.
Yeah, I mean, with OTAs, people are cashing out, getting big paydays.
Yeah, it's really interesting story. NFL Notebook, now the mandatory camps are this week, and then everybody goes on vacation until training camp opens in mid-July. Mandatory camps, the big storyline, not necessarily the draft picks in camp, but the biggest storyline is who's out of camp. And the 49ers are making news on a lot of different fronts. First things first, is somebody going to be traded in San Francisco? Because it kind of looks this way. San Francisco is moving towards having major salary cap issues. The 49ers just gave a massive contract extension to the top running back in the league, Christian McCaffrey. They have given him an extension now that runs through 2027. Average salary, all-time record, $19 million per season. Christian McCaffrey, over 3,900 all-purpose yards in 2 seasons in Frisco, along with a total of 39 touchdowns. I mean, this is do everything, and he's been healthier in Frisco than he was with Carolina. But this comes at a price, because they've given him money, big money. They obviously have to take care of Brock Purdy, who's headed into another year of his first contract. They've already given big money to Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk is not in camp. He is the other star wide receiver. Ayuk wants to be paid equal, if not more, than Deebo Samuel's. I think San Francisco is going to wind up trading Deebo because they're through the roof in terms of the salary cap. And I think that they feel Ayuk has much more upside. Deebo does more diverse things, but Deebo also has a history of getting hurt. So that's a real issue there with the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams situation, they are really excited about Blake Corum. In fact, he is kind of pushing to the forefront to be a 3-down running back. Now, of course, they have an injury issue with Kyron Williams, last year's heavy-duty back, the kid from Notre Dame he was hurt as a rookie, had a great second season. Now he's hurt again. And Blake Corum has taken a zillion snaps with the number one offense led by Matthew Stafford. So suddenly, the Rams look like a very, very different offensive football team because Blake Corum has just really made a big, big jump. So that's a storyline worth watching. Another storyline's got to do with the Vikings. Justin Jefferson, just back that Brinks truck right up there to the back of the workout facility. He finally got his contract, got a 4-year extension, $35 million per season. And it's like everybody at the top in the NFL, when they get their new contract, it's better than the last top contract. Mm-hmm. So because Justin Jefferson's gotten to 35, you got the guys in San Francisco that want their payday. Hey, if you can get 35, I should get 30. You got the Bengal wide receivers are both asking for 30. This is kind of an epidemic around the National Football League. So this bears watching as we go forward. And speaking of contracts, let me throw this sidebar story in there. Dallas Cowboys, they got all kinds of unique cap issues. Now, historically, they've always solved their cap issues. Dak Prescott is in the final year of his deal, so he's a free agent. They're not going to let him on the open market. He can't be franchise tagged, though, so it's got to be an extension with big bonus guaranteed money at the front end. His cap figure this year is $55 million against the cap. So they're going to have to somehow, some way get that number down, and it will be as a multi-year extension. But that's not the only one they're dealing with. They got to deal with C.D. Lamb, the young stud wide receiver. And he's looking at what Minnesota's guy just got and what the other guys are getting in Frisco. He wants his payday. And the third guy is Micah Parsons, a superstar linebacker. Now, he's got 2 years left on his deal, but he's kind of barking about, maybe you should extend my contract now. Give me state-of-the-art money now. I don't want to wait 2 more years rather than have it now. So keep an eye on the Dallas thing. Now, historically, they've paid their stars. They've always had cap issues. They always work it out. It'll be fascinating to see what they do. So John Riley is going to talk about his favorite team, the 49ers, and go from there.
Well, I'll tell you what, if these guys want big money, and they see all the money flowing into the NFL and the salary cap going up, I don't blame them for wanting to get $30 million if they think that's their value. I mean, show me the money. There's a lot of money going around, so go for it. Congratulations to Justin Jefferson. He deserved it, absolutely.
Great player.
Unbelievable. But Christian McCaffrey, to me, is an interesting guy because I didn't really watch him too much when he was at Stanford or at Carolina, but when I watched the Niners, he's so durable, and he's just getting, knocked around, tackled, running into guys, and yet he's so durable. And then meanwhile, last night, Manny Machado pulls a quad, like running to first base. It's just amazing how durable Christian McCaffrey is. I mean, he should be making $30 million. He's obviously worth it.
Well, $19 million is phenomenal. Nobody's ever made, I think, north of $12 million per year as a running back. And the durability factor, the life expectancy of those guys is not that long. I would assume this might be the last contract he gets because he'll be 31 if he gets to that finish line after this extension in 2027. But you're correct. I mean, he is everything. He is as complete a big back as there is because he can run it and he can catch it and run with it after, and he gets lots of touches. He's probably north of 300 touches a year, which means there's an awful lot of contact around him.
He's a modern-day number 33, Roger Craig.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's who he's like.
So that's the latest in the NFL. We go from that. Hockey Hotline is open.
Yeah, we got the Panthers and the Oilers League. Big-time Stanley Cup final here.
This sucker starts on Saturday, so these teams will have had a week off, and they'll be able to get everybody healthy. This is a Florida team on a mission. It is a Panther team that got to the Stanley Cup finals last year, did not know how to win, but has become a big-time scoring team, a big-time physical team. Florida is just on a mission now that they're back in the Cup. And I don't think anybody expected this, but I'll tell you what, Sam Reinhart scored, I think it was 57 goals in the regular season. And they got Sam Bennett, and they got Alexei Barkov, and they got Carter Vanderhaeg, who scores a ton of goals in postseason, and they got Matthew Tkachuk. I don't know how the hell you're going to defend all those guys because they're all on different lines. That group has scored 39 goals in 18 playoff games. I mean, Florida is really good, and they smother you. They make it so hard to get into the offensive end of the zone. And they got Sergei Bobrovsky at age 36 that's having a career year with a ton of experience. Now, Edmonton's got Connor McDavid, and they got Leon Draisaitl, and they got Zach Hyman. Those guys, listen to these stats. Those three have combined for 29 goals in 19 games.
Wow.
Those three have combined for 77 points in 19 games. You can argue it's a one-line team, but nobody can contain them. And I've never seen anything in modern-day hockey in the playoffs. In the playoffs, there's no open ice. It is tough to create offense. Edmonton's got 19 power play goals, and Edmonton has killed off 28 straight power plays. And Edmonton limits the opponent to 24 shots per game in the postseason. I mean, that's a really complete team. Now, I don't know who is the real Stuart Skinner in goal, and maybe somebody from the old Canada Network will tell us. His goals against is 2.50, and that's the exception to the rule. Normally, guys with those kind of numbers are not playing this deep in the Stanley Cup Finals, but he's had a couple of really bad games. He got benched, but then he's come back. He's really bounced back. So I think this Florida-Edmonton series is going to be fascinating. And full disclosure, I'm wearing Oiler orange.
Okay. Well, I thought you were going to roll in with some of your gear from the Oilers. This is going to be a great series. The more I'm learning about hockey, the more I appreciate it. I like this thing about the Panthers being real tough in the third period, and that's when they wear them out and shut them down. But here's a rookie hockey question for you. The goalies that go in, are they like starting like 80% of the games, or is there kind of a rotation like baseball pitchers?
Depends who the backup goalie is. Some clubs will rotate guys. The bulk of them might play the veteran or the star 2 out of 3, but you can ride a hot goaltender through the Stanley Cup playoffs. And normally when we get to this point of the season, that's my guy, and my guy's going in. Now, they benched Skinner because he let in so many bad goals in the second round. They sat him for 2 games, but they went back to him because the other guy is just a marginal journeyman backup. So you dance with the person that got you there.
Yeah, play the hot hand, right? Yeah. I mean, it's amazing watching those guys react because, a goalie looks like he's just in all those pads, yet they're so flexible.
Oh, unbelievable.
And the way they can move their hips and their knees, I mean, I'm surprised they're not blowing out ACLs.
Okay, full disclosure from you. Are you a hockey fan, or is it just the beer and the babes?
Well, you know what? There's a lot of women that love hockey. You can see them in the stands. I mean,
you just answered the question.
Yeah.
Don't say anything more. Your wife will be coming through the curtains here. Okay, we go from hockey. Got a couple of other topics on the table before he gets to Fans Forum. Go ahead.
Okay, let's talk about the thoroughbreds. 10-horse field at Belmont.
Yeah, Belmont Stakes. It's not going to be at Belmont Park. Belmont Park out on Long Island is under renovation. They have moved it to upstate New York. Really beautiful small track, Saratoga. Mm-hmm. And that's where they're going to run on Saturday night. It is a 10-horse field. It's the third jewel of the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes, but it will be run. Rain is in the forecast, and that's something that could play havoc in here. There are multiple big stories. It's a 10-horse field that's got 3 horses that everybody likes. It's a 10-horse field that does not have the top 3-year-old in the country. Muth, Bob Baffert's pony, is not in this race. Muth had been scratched from the Preakness because the horse got sick after it shipped into Pimlico, and Muth could not run in the Kentucky Derby because of the Bob Baffert suspension. So this is weird. I mean, this is a lost 3-year-old season for what many thought was going to be a great, great horse, Muth. But Seize the Gray will start inside on post position number 1 in a small field. Seize the Gray is a great speed horse. Seize the Gray ran away from everybody and wound up winning the photo finish at Pimlico. So Mystic Dan, Derby winner, is going to start number 3. Pretty good post position. And again, it's only a 10-horse field, so it's not going to be a crush out of the gate. Mystic Dan had a bad start Preakness after the Derby win, closed fast, did not win at the Pimlico. And the wild card in the whole thing is Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone finished second in the Kentucky Derby, almost caught Mystic Dan, did not run in the Pimlico, and is now back after all these weeks of rest. Sierra Leone is going to start on the far outside at number 9, and Sierra Leone's got speed. The other story about the Belmont Stakes being at Saratoga, it's a smaller track. I've been there. Beautiful track. This is not going to be a 1.5-mile race. The third jewel of Triple Crown at Belmont is a 1.5 miles, which is grueling. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a 1.25 miles. So this is going to be speed, 10-horse field. I think it's going to be wide open. I think it's going to be just an absolute fun race to watch.
Now, this is, like you just said, the third of the Triple Crown, right? And I always get them confused because I know Pimlico and Preakness are the same thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Belmont Stakes is the third. And there's a few others like Breeders' Cup. Well,
Breeders' Cup is the end of the year for everybody. Mm-hmm. Breeders' Cup has been at Del Mar, been at Santa Anita. Breeders' Cup is a championship weekend for all types of divisions. They have 14 different races on Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday. But the Breeders' Cup Classic is the marquee event for the 3-year-olds.
Cool. So. Now, when they ever have these Triple Crown races, do they ever run them on the turf? No. Or is it always on dirt?
Always on dirt. Okay. Now, some of the other races on that day's card, the Breeders' Cup races, there'll be some on dirt, there'll be some on turf.
Interesting.
And they have them different. They have them for mares. They have them for foals. They have them for shorter distances on the grass. It's like I say, 14 different races spread out over 2 days, and it's every classification of horse from 2-year-olds to 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds.
Interesting. And it's just a fascinating sport. By the way, Mystic Dan, whenever you say that, I think of Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump, So, but yeah, good on. I'll tune in for that, for the Belmont Stakes.
See, I know what I'm talking about. You thought you were just sitting there shooting the bull over a beer with some dummy.
Well, I watch enough baseball and basketball. It's nice to get a little variety.
Our variety is the last topic on the table before we go to Fans Forum. Go ahead.
Yeah, here we go. English Premier League, Manchester City, looking good.
Yeah, there's a lot of trouble brewing right now. There's a money war that's going on. Let me just walk through some of the hot topics. At this hour in Europe, the English Premier League, John, is voting on a proposal to remove VAR. VAR is instant replay. They are, some clubs in the EPL are really upset. Say, we must fix the game. We have to put the human element in the game. VAR, video assistance for referees, has not worked. Now, they did a survey. They found this past year in the English Premier League, as they just completed the season, there were 107 referee corrections thanks to VAR. You got the call wrong, VAR overruled you. There were 31 where they made a decision on VAR, and it still turned out to be the wrong decision. So there's a huge uproar over, quote, instant replay in soccer. They need 14 votes to get rid of VAR. The voting is going on today, so I'm sure by Friday or Saturday we'll find out. Second issue, the champions, Manchester City, who won their 4th title in a row. They have a huge lawsuit against the English Premier League, which just filed this week. Manchester City is of the opinion that EPL does not have a right to dictate to the owners of Manchester City or any other EPL team, dictate to them how much sponsorship money they can bring in. There's financial bylaws about what you can bring in, bookkeeping, etc. And evidently, Manchester City has been found guilty of 113 different violations of these financial bylaws and is facing massive discipline. And EPL is suing them, saying, you don't have a right to tell us what sponsors we can have and how much we can charge and how much revenue we can bring into the till. I mean, there's to a degree a salary cap there. But you can take all this money and you can spread it throughout all your feeder programs in England that Manchester City sponsors. So that's a big issue there with this lawsuit. And on top of that, evidently this comes around because Manchester City has a sponsorship agreement with a Saudi Arabian airlines company. Mega money. And EPL says you can't take that money without saying it's blood money, but you can't take that money. That's a big issue. So Manchester City's at war with the leadership of the English Premier League. And on top of that, we got player issues. Kevin De Bruyne, great veteran, has been with Manchester City 9 years. He kind of pledged his loyalty to stay, changed his mind. Why? Guys over there, Saudis offered him volumes to go, something to the tune of like $21 million a year to leave Manchester City.
Wow.
And because of the cap, Manchester City can't pay that, and Kevin De Bruyne is looking at going there. And there's some other clubs that got some other player problems. Liverpool, which has had a good run for a bunch of years, might be about to lose Mo Salah, who's been their goal scorer. He's had problems with the coaching staff. He's getting approached from Saudi Arabia there too. And one other note, another lawsuit in soccer. Kylian Mbappe, great French star, Paris Saint-Germain, has left, has gone to Real Madrid, signing a big contract. Paris Saint-Germain is refusing to pay him the final 4 months of his salary and his bonuses. There's a dispute in his contract that said he could be a free transfer and go to Real Madrid with no compensation. Paris Saint-Germain says, no, you can't. We had agreed to an $86 million transfer fee for their superstar to exit Germany or France and wind up going to Real Madrid. So now that's in a lawsuit. They are suing Real Madrid for breach of the contract. You're supposed to pay us $86 million. He's suing his former club because they've withheld 4 months of salary and all of his bonuses, which is a large amount of money in the pool.
Wow.
So a lot of stuff going on in the world of soccer. Video replay. I can't believe they'd kick it out. Because, I mean, it's a game played by humans. You don't put the human element back in. You know, referees made 103 mistakes in key games last year, and you want to get rid of video replay? John?
Yeah, well, you got to get the video replay right. We want to see this games called accurately. You know what I'm just thinking, just a weird tangent is, you know, you watch a Major League Baseball team and they want to go to video replay, the manager does this. But in soccer, the referee usually does this, right? I mean, what do they do in the NFL and what do they do in NBA for that sort of thing? Do they have like a...
Guy turns his mic on. Upon further review.
Okay.
So that's how they do it.
But it's just a ton of money in the league. And, you know, if you're trying to have the EPL to be the Premier League and you're competing against Saudi Arabia, why do you have a salary cap? That can only hurt you as players defect.
The problem is that they've negotiated it because the English Premier League does not want to be a 2-team league or a 4-team league. They just don't want to be Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, and Liverpool, because you got 16 others who can't compete at that financial level if you had an unlimited salary cap. And on top of everything else, about 2 years ago, there was a proposal to form a European Super League, and that was FC Barcelona and Real Madrid's idea, and they were going to take AC Milan from Italy, and they were going to take Paris Saint-Germain, and they're going to take the top teams from England and form a global Super League. And the English Premier League said, no, you are not. These guys have signed documents. They cannot leave. And they went to court, and the courts ruled you can't touch the English teams. And then suddenly the idea evaporated real quickly. But the scary part was, if they had taken all those teams, the marquee teams in each of the leagues, they would have the mega TV contract, and there'd be no TV revenue for what was left behind in the English Premier League or Serie A or La Liga in Spain. I mean, it would have been devastating for the ones that are not included in the formation of a Super League. So it hasn't happened yet, but that rumor is still out there.
Sounds like NIL and the way these conferences are combining.
Bingo.
Yeah, you know, Big
together.
Ten and the SEC.
Hey, our podcast is brought to you by North County Eye Centers of Poway and Escondido. Take them up on their offer. If you need an eye exam, we haven't had one in a long time, think North County Eye Center offering you right now free eye exams and a discount on eye frames. Just sell them. You are a viewer of Hacksaw's podcast, North County Eye Center. And by DIXIELINE, DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you. Build it, fix it. Guarantee you will enjoy it in 2024 at DIXIELINE Lumber. I'm going to take a break. John Riley is going to host his segment of the show with his fans. Here comes Fans Forum.
Yeah, you're not taking a break because they all want to know what Hacksaw thinks. So let's go here to Jamie, and he says, why do the Padres play good with good teams and awful with bad teams? It's so frustrating for fans.
Oh, drives you crazy. I wish I had an answer. Hell, Mike Schilt wishes he had an answer, too. I mean, they got guys that are just not having good seasons. Again, you know, Manny making all that money. He's got, what, 1 home run? Fernando Tatis, a lousy start. Now he's starting to hit again. Cronenworth has bounced back. But Hassan Kim has been lost all season offensively. It's just not a complete team, and now you got the baggage of all the injuries right now. Now, yeah, there's a lot of baseball to be played, but, John, they pissed away an opportunity to close on the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers aren't playing great ball. Dodgers have lost 8 of their last 13, and they're far from being a complete baseball team because they got injuries and a bunch of guys at the bottom half of the order aren't hitting worth a lick. But the Padres have, quote, pissed it away.
Yeah, it's insane how horrible it's been. I mean, think about it. For a while, the big three were dragging us down, and Cronenworth and Profar and Arraez were carrying it. And now it's the other way around. You know, now Machado and Tatis are hitting, and everyone else has gone in the doghouse. Now they're off today, and then they travel to where?
They got Arizona tonight. They're home.
Oh, they're home. Okay, but
yeah, stupid me. I thought this quadrant of the schedule. Don't you call me stupid. Stupid me. I thought they were going to put together a 10-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Playing the Angels, the D-backs, and then the Athletics.
Yeah, all the A teams.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen.
No, not at all. I mean, it just blows your mind. You watch this team. It's so frustrating. Okay, let's move on. We got a Caitlin Clark comment. This is from Brett. It says, Caitlin Clark is getting rookie treatment. I'm tired of people saying players are jealous of her. I'm also tired of the negative racist undertones said about Angel Reese.
I don't know how to answer that because I think she's being victimized because she is a marquee personality and she has brought something really different. I think all the players that are banging on her ought to realize her impact on this league has been tremendously positive. There are benefits now that the Angel Reeses of the world and the other ones with the LA Sparks, etc., have not been getting. And now they're getting it by virtue of this next star arriving on the scene. So, but the trash talk, I guess trash talk can be part of it, but is it hard to show class? Show class and appreciate what she's brought in terms of visibility to the entire sport. Is she the best player in the league? I don't think so.
No.
I think, but she's growing and she's good and she's worth watching. But I mean, She got hatcheted 4 games in a row. I'm talking about violent hits that could have injured her neck or broken her forearm, and as Angel Reese jumping for joy after Caitlin Clark gets plastered on the floor. What was that?
Yeah, what is that? The whole Angel Reese Caitlin Clark relationship is inconsistent, because we saw them in the LSU Iowa ring, show me the ring, and they were smack talking, and then later on they said, oh, we're all friends and we all know each other and we get along, and then she's not my enemy, but we're just competitive on the court. And now Angel Reese is a cheerleader giving high fives to her players when they stick Caitlin Clark. Yeah. So is it a love-hate thing, or what is it, Lee?
Show a little class.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next question.
Okay, let's go here to Winnipeg Sports Talk. Hey, what's up, Hacksaw? Bombers in the CFL opener tonight.
There is football. It'll be on your TV. You'll have to surf and find it, but the Canadian Football League starts tonight. Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I think, have the best starting backup quarterback combo in the league. Zach Caleros is one of the guys that came from the States, John. He went to the Hamilton Ticats, I think, where he started his career, from the University of Cincinnati. Put up some nice numbers with the Bearcats. Went up there, developed, had some success. Went to Winnipeg as a free agent. He's won, I think, back-to-back Grey Cups. And he's the leading passer in the CFL. And they got a backup who was here in the NFL, Chris Strevler, with the Arizona Cardinals. He's the backup, but he had been productive in Winnipeg prior to jumping to the NFL. Now he's gone back after a couple of years with the Arizona Cardinals. Winnipeg's a really good team. It's weird, though. You have 9 teams in the league. I think only 5 of them have established quarterbacks, and the other 4 are kind of wandering out there, hoping at whomever we got. There's a salary cap issue in Canada. I think they should do something to set aside the quarterback salary and allow the CFL to come into the States and obviously get some guys to go up there with bigger contracts and just let them play. And I've known guys that have gone up there, stayed up there, and had really nice careers and became stars and, loved where they lived in Canada. It's different than the NFL, but would you rather be a star and make $500,000 in the Canadian League, or be on waivers every 4th week down here, going from one developmental squad to another for minimum wage and really never getting a chance to play? So I think the CFL should probably change the salary structure and make the quarterback an off the roster acquisition so you can go get more talent up there. It's a different breed of football, there's no doubt about it, but Winnipeg is really, really good.
What network is they going to show this in America? Is it like on ESPN?
They have been showing them on, I think it was ESPN2, but you'll just have to dial around one of the 6,000 channels that you subscribe to.
Go way deep on the list, right?
Yes, exactly. Next question.
And another Caitlin Clark comment. This is from Patrolman Pete. Indiana Fever need a Dave Semenko character for Clark's Gretzky.
I was surprised they're not as good as I thought they would be. And she's come in and she had to do a lot of it by herself. I think their record might be 1-7, maybe 2-7 right now.
I saw 2-8.
Yeah, they're just not a complete basketball team. And she's had some really good games. And she had one game she scored 3 points. They're trying to defend her out of the arena, and now they're trying to bang her around and all that. But she's going through a learning curve, and they need more players around here compared to what I watched the Connecticut Sun, and they are really good. The LA Sparks aren't real good, which is kind of surprising because they've had some good years and they've been in the league a long period of time. So Bears watching to see how much better Caitlin's going to get and whether the treatment of Caitlin Clark changes.
Yeah, well, I think, Patrol guy, he's got the hockey reference. I'm thinking of McSorley, protecting Gretzky. You would think that her teammates would back her up on this, so they're just invisible.
Well, when she's gotten decked, they've run over and picked her up. But when she's gotten decked, nobody's walked over to pick up a technical foul.
Right.
You
got to fight back.
Exactly. If that Chicago Sky center who tomahawked her, I'd walk over and I'd body bang her. If I took a technical, I took a technical. But you need to send a message. You're not going to do this to our star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's where we are. Next question.
I've got a hockey question here, and we'll go here to Callan. It says, hey, Lee, what would you name the Utah NHL team? I like the Blizzard, but I'm sure the Avalanche would call foul.
Well, I was told today they cut the list down to the final 6. The fans vote, and they came up with 6, and I don't understand some of the one. But my favorite one is Utah Blizzard because you can put an identifiable logo with it, but they came up with something really absurd, and I can't even recall I didn't even know what it meant, and they didn't have something like Utah Wolves or Utah Sky or, Utah, some mountain climbers. So they got it down to 6. I will say this, though. They have taken, in 1 month's time since the Arizona Coyotes moved, 34,000 season ticket orders.
Really?
For a full season or half season, whatever. I mean, it's just phenomenal, the response in the region, just not Salt Lake City, just in that Rocky Mountain region, the people who want access to buy either the full plan or the half plan. The arena, I'm told, is going to seat 12,000 for hockey, unrestricted views, and they'll try to jam standing room only in there, too. So that's quite a response. Hell of a lot more than they used to get for the Arizona Coyotes, who are drawing 5,000.
Well, you're talking about absurd names in Salt Lake City, and I think the Utah Jazz have to be one of the most absurd names.
Well, but that came from New Orleans.
Well, yeah, it made sense in New Orleans. When they moved to Salt Lake, they should have rebranded. You know, they could have been the Utah Mormon Tabernacle Choir. That would have been better than the Utah Jazz.
Okay, these are the 6 finalists: Utah Blizzard, Utah Outlaws, Utah Mammoth, Utah Venom, and Utah Yeti, Y-E-T-I?
Yeah, that's Sasquatch. That's the that's the abominable snowman.
Oh, then the Yeti and the Seattle Kraken. That's stupid. Blizzard, Utah Blizzard. You can do a lot graphically with Utah Blizzard. Hey, Canada, thanks for joining us. Next question.
Okay, and a bunch of Caitlin Clark comments, but let's see if we can get here. This is from Derek. He goes, I love that women's sports are in the news. Don't like it. Don't like when it's like that, though.
Well, I just think it's a bad look, because I think the Angel Reeses of the world really look like they're jealous and they're stupid, and they're not paying attention to all the great things that Caitlin Clark has brought to the league collectively. Her TV ratings are through the roof. Never had these kind of ratings before. Their games are all sold out. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. They want to see the star from college. Now, she can be a star in WNBA. Only time will tell.
Yeah, I like the attention it's getting. I remember women's tennis used to be a big thing when I was younger, and not so much anymore. But yeah, let's get more women's sports going, you know?
Well, the LPGA. But the growth of those sports on the women's side, notably the LPGA and WTA, has exploded because of the greatness of players that have come from Europe.
Right.
And the greatness of players come from the Pacific Rim. I mean, they're just phenomenal athletes and phenomenal stars, and they've overwhelmed. I don't know where the next USA female golfing star is going to be, because it was not Michelle Wie, and we thought she was going to be the one, and she had injuries and she'd never followed up on it, and her life changed as they went. But, I mean, WTA, who's playing in the finals? Not Coco Gauff. She got blown out today in the semifinals by Iga Swiatek. So the arrival of the great Euros, and especially in golf, from the Pacific Rim and all those countries. I mean, you look at the leaderboards and the top money winning list. They are from Taiwan. They're from Japan. It's South Korea. I mean, it's phenomenal. And it's great for the sport to have all these people. But where's our next American star?
It's amazing that we can sit here and talk about anything, and you can pull up a fact. Coco Gauff got eliminated today. I had no idea.
Blown out in straight sets.
Unbelievable.
She's 1-11 against Iga. And Iga, I don't know if Iga's going to be Martina Navratilova. She's very young in her career. She's just a year and a half plus into being a star. She's really, really good. But I don't know if she's Martina. I don't know if she's Chrissy Everett-Lloyd. So the only time will tell.
Hacksaw was the internet before the internet, and you still are the internet.
I know what I know.
Okay, let's go here to Kyle. He says, Hacksaw sounds like the news guy on the American country radio station I pick up from North Dakota when I'm in Buffalo Point, LOL.
Game time temperature in Fargo, 21 degrees, below zero wind chill. I've never been to Fargo. I always wanted to go to Fargo, North Dakota. Next question.
Oh, I just want to say this, is that it's a thrill to hang out with you, because it's funny when when the camera's not on, we're just regular guys. But man, when that camera's on and that mic is lit, you turn into Hacksaw, and you have a great voice for radio, for sports, and the vocabulary is just fantastic.
You are right. I am bleeping brilliant. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go on here. Oh, yeah, Derek had a kind of a comment. He goes, Hacksaw's eyes healed up really well. That eye center does good work.
Hey, do me a favor. These people are friends of mine, and they've joined us, kind of taking a flyer on this. You need an eye test. We're all going to need help. Just call North County Eye Center and thank them for being part of Hacksaw's podcast, and schedule an eye test, because it's absolutely free. Just make sure you tell them you're part of Hacksaw's team on the podcast. But I look good. Now, the Raider fan, he was in the hospital for a while. For the fans that don't know the backdrop, I had eye surgery in the middle of all this, and I came in one day, and I had a black eye here.
Oh, it was huge.
Because of the injections.
Yeah.
And it wasn't painful or anything. It just looked really bad. And everybody said, what the hell happened to you? You walk into one, lose a fight? I said, no, I got to see the Raider fan. He's still in ICU. And I went on TV. I did my KUSI stuff with a black eye. They laughed. They thought it was really, really funny.
Yeah, people were joking on social media, like you finally pissed off someone too much. Okay, let's go here to Chris. This is a good one. Saw, just sitting here reflecting on how cool it is to watch you on this podcast. 30 years after racing out of high school to listen to the best 15 minutes of sports at 4 o'clock, life has come full circle. And Dave Roberts has officially become the Marv Levy of MLB, swept by the bleeping Reds and now probably the Pirates. How about some accountability, damn it?
Well, they gave him a big contract extension. And I just have great respect for Dave Roberts, the player, the person, and Dodger leader. And they did give him a contract extension despite the postseason failures. But as John and I have argued off and on, some of the decisions that are made, notably in the playoffs, might be mandated from the front office, the analytics guys, that we're going to do this, this, and this. And if you go to the bullpen, this is the guy we want you to go to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't hold him fully responsible in Dodger postseason failures, but this sure does not look like a $290 million team. I mean, injuries are indeed part of the game, and a lot of people forget, Max Muncy's on the deal. They have 12 guys still on the disabled list, most of them pitchers, and that's out of the control of Andrew Friedman, the president, and the general manager, and obviously Dave Roberts, the field manager. But they're not a $290 million baseball team right now. Not when you compare them. What's going on in Philadelphia, who've had no injuries. What's going on at Yankee Stadium. I mean, those teams are like 43-19 now. And the Dodgers are just kind of spinning their wheels. There's a lot of baseball still to be played.
Well, did you see the bit about Dave Roberts was kind of giving some love and a hug to one of the pitchers that had a
lit up?
Yeah. And that was a cool moment. I mean, I think that's good. But it's funny, Marv Levy, I mean, that's a great comparison. I'm thinking of also Bud Grant.
Exactly.
That's the other one, that has lost the time. But I do love seeing these people have how, for decades, you've been a part of their life and you've touched them in really special ways. And we were just joking about it before we started. It's like whenever you go around town, you were telling me you're at the workout place and you're trying to lift weights and people want to have a talk show with you.
Yeah, it's cool. I'd go shopping at Vaughn's and they stop me in front of the meat counter to say, the Padres. It's absolutely hilarious, but it's great. It's, I've done this my entire life. I mean, I think back how fortunate I am. I've been doing this since I was age 18.
Incredible.
Talking sports and, radio, television, journalism, freelance writing, and now this. And do you know how unique and different it is for an old dog like me, who's still got a Royal Manual typewriter in his garage to be doing this? I never thought this was possible. I got hired by SiriusXM I did weekends for 3 years on the home plate baseball channel, and I didn't know how any of that stuff works. Satellite, and I said, "Oh no!" I said, "Am I going to move to New York and work for SiriusXM?" And my family's house was in New York, and we were making plans for me to go live in my family's house and commute every day into New York City when Chris Russo, Mad Dog, was starting the Mad Dog channel. It didn't work out because of the economy, but I didn't understand how any of this stuff worked. They said, no, you can do the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights on the home plate channel and do it from home on your computer. I said, how is that possible? So I learned some technology along the way, but I still have my Royal Manual typewriter in the garage. Stop laughing at me.
I think you're one of the rare people that has been successful doing what you love in your career.
Sure. Despite all the bad things that have happened in my career. Teams folding, teams moving, teams leaving my radio station, just getting screwed. But you got to be resilient.
Okay, let's keep moving on. And let's go here to T. Will, talk about the Stanley Cup. He goes, I'm still stunned that the Oilers are in the finals.
Well, they earned it. They earned it because their special teams played really well. And Stuart Skinner got red hot again. And those three bigs on that one line are just phenomenal. And here's the unique part of this. This series is going to start Saturday with the Florida Panthers. They're big and they're physical, and they take penalties. And, John, I swear to you, if you take penalties, I'm going to score power play goals on you. I mean, Edmonton's got 19 power play goals in 19 games. It's a phenomenal statistic, and they've killed off 28 straight man advantages without giving up a goal. That's kind of a unique team, and they've been building towards this, and they finally got there.
Well, go back to the regular season. Did the Panthers and the Oilers win their division? Were they the number one seeds coming out?
No, Vancouver won the Pacific Division, but Vancouver had never been there before, and Vancouver just made mistakes in Games 6 and 7 in terms of changing what they were doing and let Edmonton get back into the thing. Florida's just kind of manhandled everybody. I mean, when you consider Boston Bruins, New York Rangers, and those are two really good teams, they're like you and me. They're going to watch the games on TV too.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Florida did that to them.
Wow. Okay, let's move on. We got a lot more here. Let's go to let's write down here on the list. And let's go to Angel. Because for years, WNBA has been NBA little sister, and now they have a female version of Bird versus Magic with Clark and Reese.
As long as it doesn't get out of hand and become more than just basketball. I mean, I understand personalities and all that, and I subscribe that that's good for the game, that you have that type of pizzazz. But cheap shot fouls on a consistent basis, I don't know. We want the reincarnation of the Detroit Piston bad boys.
Well, I like that there's two high-profile players that are rookies that have had the history as rivals in college. I just hate that it's race-based. It doesn't need to be race-based. But if you got young, talented athletes, you got personality, you've got excitement from the fans, you got TV ratings, that's fantastic. And hopefully the WNBA can rise up.
We'll see if, is this a one-time thing because of the arrival of Caitlin Clark and all these other collegians that have come from LSU and USC and South Carolina? Or is if they now set a level here that they're going to continue to grow the base going forward? It'll be fun to see.
I agree. Let's keep moving on, and let's go here to David talking about the English Premier League, and he says VAR just passed 19-1 to keep it.
Well, there was huge uproar that we need to keep it and improve the technology. And there was some minority uproar. I think there's a lot of pressure that was put out there. Minority uproar put the human element back in the game. But when you have that many, it's a tough game to referee, especially offside calls and things like that. You got technology, use the technology. Now, that being said, NFL replay, it's not perfect. Major League Baseball, far from perfect. But you just got to work at it. So I knew that vote was today and was being taken. Of course, there's 8 hours time difference between here and Crystal Palace in England. So that's good that they kept it. Now they just got to refine it more.
Yeah, exactly. Just get it right. Now, just as a side, I see VAR. You know what I think of is, wins above replacement WAR. There's a local social media guy here that does the Padres, the Divine Sports Gospel. He always talks about VAR, vibes above replacement, and, as a way to kind of stroke, jerks and profar.
On we go.
On we go. Okay, let's go here to Cal. He says, Chelsea and West Ham can probably roll with the big boys too.
So they haven't recently. Now, West Ham's been a good side in groups of years. Chelsea's kind of gone through rebuild. The Chelsea Blues had a 3 or 4 or 5 year run in which they were really, really good. But that goes back into the mid-2000s. So we'll see. The problem is there is radical disparity between the upper elite in the English Premier League and the bulk that are down here. And there's just absolutely no way that these smaller communities, cities that own EPL franchises will have the revenue streams that will allow them to go into the open market and get star players. And if they develop their own players through their feeder system, that's great. But those guys then become part of the transfer program. And the Liverpools and the Man Cities and the Man United, they'll go in and Arsenal, they'll go in and cherry pick, and they will buy the marquee player from Crystal Palace or some of these others. And the other shocker, the volume of money, when you get promoted into the English Premier League, it's like $180 million instant revenue for you to come up. But you're coming up with a lower division class of players, so you're going to have to go find players that want to come play there, and it doesn't work out. And this past year, we've had two or three teams that got relegated that had spent 1 year in and were so bad, Sheffield and a few others, they're gone. And they go back to the lower championship league, which is the second division of the EPL, but they lose all that revenue. So Leicester City had been a long time EPL, but it was a bottom feeder. and they finally got knocked out. Well, they rebuilt their franchise. They jumped right back in because they were the top qualifier from the championship league. They just got elevated. 3 go up every year. The bottom 3 from the EPL fall out. You go up, you get a big payday, but can you get good players to come there? And can you hold on to your players? The bad ones, 1 year, one and done, you're gone. It's a long road back, and some of them never, ever come back.
I like the idea of relegation, and I think that could work in college sports in America. But what's interesting to me about the EPL, some of these team names are named after cities, like Manchester, like Liverpool, but some are not, like Arsenal, right? I don't think that's a city. I mean, and then Crystal Palace. I mean, what the hell is that? Is that
it's a community outside of London?
Oh, that's actually a city name?
Yes.
I always thought it was a reference to like Prince Albert and Queen Victoria with the World's Fair when they had that big glass thing in the park.
Yeah, you go around. If you punch up the names, they actually don't live by their nicknames. They live by their formal corporate name. You punch up the names, and one of the teams is known as the Cherries.
Really?
Yeah, in the EPL. I don't have it now, but I went through a list and said, what does that fit? The Canaries. How does that fit? But anyhow.
Well, talking about relegation, who is the American actor? Is it Ryan Reynolds that owns a team?
Yeah, Wrexham in Wales.
Yeah. So what tier are they? Are they like AAA? Maybe?
They started very small and way down, and I think they have now in back-to-back years have jumped twice, and I think they're in the second grouping. It'd be like AA soccer. It's not the Championship League, and it's not the Premier League, but it's the one right below it, Wrexham.
Cool. And so does relegation happen all the way
Yes.
through? Okay, so people can ratchet up and ratchet down.
Yes.
That's a good system.
Yeah, it's unique. So the Oakland Athletics could be in the Pacific Coast League if we had relegation.
Okay, let's move on. We got some more comments here. And Callan says, yeah, Leicester City or the Foxes. Okay, let's go to social media because there's some good comments here on social media. And let's go here to Andretti. Talk a little car racing. This is from who? Murphy. He says, I can't blame the FIA for not letting him come into Formula One. He treated his time in Formula One before very poorly. He burned a lot of bridges. His dad's awesome. I'm not a huge fan of him. Retreated Formula One very poorly when he tried to drive in, I don't know, 30 years ago. But yeah, he burned a lot of bridges for people, so I can't blame him for not letting them in. I wouldn't either.
The fact is he's got a proven commodity record here with Andretti Autosports. Fact is he's a global brand. Fact is F1 is trying to grow their schedule here, and they want to have 5 races here stateside in the next 2 years, and it's a big money venture. Why would you not want to have an American brand running it? I mean, the only current American brand is Haas U.S., and they've struggled for 5 to 6 years, and they could be up for sale right now. Why would you not want Andretti's $250 million entrance fee? Granted, you say, well, then we're going to add an 11th team to carve up the pie rather than 10. But if you have Andretti as a focal point, it drives up global TV numbers. It drives up the TV contracts here in the States because it is Mario and Michael Andretti's team. As a young driver, he went over there to kind of cut his teeth, learn the sport, and then jumped. A lot of guys have tried it. Very few have done it. It's a very tough sport to operate in. And F1 says, oh, no, this is not an ugly American, anti-American thing. Well, it sure kind of seems that way. We're not talking about, they let Haas in, and Haas had no track record, and they paid their way in, and right now they're a bottom feeder. Andretti's got a track record and great credentials. Why wouldn't you let him in if you're trying to grow the sport and the series here in the U.S., which is where all the volume of dollars. So he's not giving up. I mean, he's spending a lot of money to open up the factories, to build the chassis at Silverstone in London, England, outside in England. And obviously he just hired the number 2 executive from F1, Peter Simons, to be his director of racing. And Simons' resume is he developed 4 different championship teams in Europe. So Michael has not given up despite the way F1 has treated him.
You say that Andretti has offered up a $250 million
entrance fee.
But I can't believe I'm about to say this, but doesn't that sound low? Because NBA, NFL franchises are selling for $2, $4, $6, $10 billion, right? I mean, $250 million is all it takes to get into F1?
A charter. But you have all the expense of your team. I mean, the volumes of what you have to spend to develop chassis, what you have to spend with Cadillac to develop engines, what you have to spend in testing, and then you have to hire superstar drivers and crews. I mean, it's got to be well over $1 billion investment.
Oh, yeah.
To get in the front door.
Yeah, I'm sure you got to do all that too, but so do NBA teams and NFL teams when they have expansion franchises. I've seen a lot of the social media comments, and there definitely is a little tinge of sort of European snobbery. Well, we don't need any more Americans. We don't need to Americanize this sport. We already have 3 races in America. That's 3 too many. You hear there's some of that smack talk online.
It's probably true, but they've also got about 6 teams that are not really competitive, that are just hanging on for dear life and don't ever win. I mean, Team Red Bull and Mercedes, have dominated over the last 8 years, 10 years, but that thing's changing too. You've got proven success in name and brand, and Michael Andretti. Why not let him be part of this?
Yeah, I agree.
Next question.
All right, let's go here.
Next statement.
We'll talk about the Lakers, because the big news here. But J.C. Thomas was wondering about the Lakers. He says, let LeBron leave. Take Bronny with him. I'd rather have Sam Cassell over J.J. Redick anytime.
Well, I would have too until what happened, obviously, yesterday. And I maintain Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, might be the trigger point for this. The story that we just led with is that there's a meeting this weekend, and they're going to offer Dan Hurley $10 million a year to come, which shocks me that he would turn around and leave after getting an extension to UConn. But money talks, people walks, and it's the Lakers, it's the banners, it's the history of a great franchise that's fallen into mediocrity. So. And for the fact that LeBron James just sounded off, damn good coach. LeBron's kind of signing off that this works for him too. So we'll see what's going to happen. He's different. There's no doubt he's cut from a different cloth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just hear all the stories about his father and how he's just so beloved in Jersey, right? Yeah. Is where they're from. It's funny, though, hearing fans like bad-mouthing LeBron, and we need to get rid of LeBron. And you've always defended him because he's always put up the numbers. I've often questioned if the chemistry in the clubhouse is right. But this whole Bronny element is a whole different level. Do you think Bronny gets, drafted? And if he is, do you think he gets much playing time in the NBA? I can't imagine it.
I think he gets drafted maybe at the back end of the second round. Maybe he gets drafted 55 by the Lakers, who have a late second-round pick. I think there's been 5 or 6 clubs that have brought him in for the individual workouts, and from what I've been able to gather, the workouts have been pretty impressive. But he's also just a young pup. I mean, he averaged 4 points a game at USC and couldn't keep the starting job. He should have stayed in school another year. And is he healthy? Stay healthy? Can he have no cardiac setback again? And they seem to think he's passed every physical, et cetera. So he should have stayed in school. But based on potential growth, I think he's probably the back end of the second round now. But who knows what kind of player he's going to be. The league has got so many great athletes. It's such a tough place to play. All you need to do is go through the last 5 years of first-round picks. You say, what the hell happened to that guy? And how come he didn't pan out?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
So when is the draft? It's in June, isn't it?
Into June, 27th and 28th. It's going to be a 2-day TV affair now. You're going to have the first round on the I think it's the 27th, the second round on the 28th.
Interesting. All right, something to look forward to.
Yep.
Okay, we're still going here. Okay, let's talk a little MLB history. This is a big news topic in social media about integrating these Negro League statistics. And this is from E.B. May, says, I say let it be. It's history, right, wrong, or whatever. Negro Leagues need to be recognized. If this is the way for them, so be it. MLB has bigger problems with terrible umps and time clocks and rules to speed up the game. Who does that benefit?
I concur virtually everything you said. We need to honor these people. There was a different era. There's no way to equate the level of play. We know how great Josh Gibson was. No way to equate what Josh Gibson did, hitting .370 in his life, against whatever that level of pitching was. My only point of concern when I broached this subject a couple weeks ago and I wrote a column on it is they're incorporating not only Josh Gibson's records with the Homestead Grays based in Pittsburgh, but they're also taking the statistics when they were on a barnstorming tour and they're playing semi-pro teams. They took whatever statistics they got there and they lumped them all together, which to me is kind of weird. But what I'd like to see, and again, this now flips back to separate but equal, or no, what's the correct phrase?
No, that's it. That is the phrase.
Yeah.
It's like Jim Crow.
Exactly. So if we had a set of Negro League stats that you could observe and say, holy cow, .370 lifetime hitter. And obviously you had Ty Cobb and Ted Williams and all the great modern-day players. You had all their stats there. You could compare them without having to argue. My only beef is they'd go on a tour with a semi-pro team called the House of David. They were Jewish. They were ball players who were Jewish. And they'd barnstorm the country and they'd draw crowds to see the Negro League stars. But they took all those stats from those games against the House of David semi-pro team and they incorporated them. That's the only barking that I'm doing about, geez, that level of competition. But the great players of that era, I wish there were more videos. I mean, I've seen a few odd videos of Satchel Paige in the Negro Leagues, and I don't know that I've hardly ever seen anything of Josh Gibson, and I've never seen anything of Cool Papa Bell, the elite base stealer, and I interviewed a whole bunch of those guys. So I think it's great they're being honored. I think that we're reliving a unique part of Major League Baseball that did not allow those guys to cross, and that was up until Jackie Robinson in 1947.
Well, first of all, it seems like they should be able to weed out, the barnstorm games or the exhibition games. I mean, it takes a lot of research to go back and figure it out because you're probably going through old newspapers. But I just think it's not so much a Negro League versus regular MLB. I'll put that in air quotes because even in regular MLB, you can't compare people from different eras. It's just too difficult. So I think, you throw them all in. Everybody is in the Hall of Fame or eligible for it. You can try to stack rank the statistics, and you might have different versions of it depending on, post-steroid era or whatever it is. But I just think you just have to tell the story of baseball and not get too hung up on, is Josh Gibson better than Babe Ruth? Yeah.
The baseball purists, I think, are a little bit bothered by it, but I've been to the Hall multiple times. I've been to Cooperstown, and it's like a shrine. It's like a historic church of baseball, as Susan Sarandon said.
Well, it's not just the Hall of Fame, but it's the whole town.
Yeah.
And you go down the street and there are little restaurants with baseball themes and gift shops with baseball themes. And it's that beautiful, like, wooded tree area in upstate New York. And it just has all those warm fuzzies.
Oh, Doubleday Field. It is cool. I broadcast games. I used to broadcast the Hall of Fame baseball games.
Really?
I worked in upstate New York in Utica. We were the first ones. I went to them and said, hey, how about, because we had a big regional radio station. I said, how about we broadcast the Hall of Fame game? And they said, that's a cool idea. And this was even before it was ever televised. Now it's on ESPN and all that. So it's Doubleday Field. It's cool. Best time to go. If I were king and I was going back to Cooperstown next time, go in January when it's cold and snowy. And there's hardly anybody there. And you can go in there and get lost for 11 hours. Yeah. It is so cool.
Well, don't bring the wife that day because she'll go crazy.
But you can go there in the summer, in the spring. A lot of people do, but there's volumes and volumes of people. And I don't know if you get to see everything you want to see if you go when the place is packed. But go in January when it's cold and snowy because then you can park out front and you can go in and I'll see you at 5 p.m.
Well, you know what's cool? What they've done is they've built a lot of baseball facilities kind of on the outskirts of town. And now it's a big thing for travel ball players to make the trip to Cooperstown. It's almost like a trip to Mecca, you know, and then they get to play tournaments there. And it's a big deal. So, I mean, what a thrill for a young boy or girl to do that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, in closing, today's a really special day. A lot of people don't pay attention to it, but today is D-Day. Today on this day, all those guys went ashore in Normandy, and they were the first to step on that land to start the battle against the Germans to retake Europe. And I've been to Normandy. I've been to that cemetery. It's the most amazing thing I've ever experienced, and it drives home the reality that freedom is not really free, but that we are honoring all those who perished. I wrote a huge column on my website, my One Man's Opinion column today. I took time out from sports. I wrote about Normandy and my experience. It forever changed how I viewed everything. So if you have an opportunity, read my column. You have an opportunity, watch the news tonight. Google D-Day ceremonies. You'll just be awed. And I also told a sidebar story of how I went to the cemetery in Normandy. And we all know the pictures of the beautiful white crosses. And every cross has the name of the soldier who died, his home state, and the day he died. And the reverence on those grounds is amazing. Nobody talks. Nobody runs. They have taps they play at noon. They have taps they play at sunset. They have special prayers during a noon service. It's phenomenal. And I spent a day and a half there at Normandy, and then I went up a half mile up the road to a German cemetery. And this is the most amazing thing, John, is that after the Army drove the Germans out of that area, we were collecting our soldiers who died on the beach, died inland, etc. And they went to the townspeople of Bayeux, which is a little village adjacent to Normandy, and said, we need a plot of land to bury our dead. And they were finding all these dead Germans everywhere, too. And I said, we're not putting them in our cemetery. They went back to Bayeux. Bayeux gave them another plot of land further up. So when you go to the U.S. cemetery, there's a big beige wall that's wrapped around the entire cemetery. You see the crosses and the trees and the shrubs, and it's right on the hill overlooking Omaha Beach. On the wall, there's all these names inscribed. And I asked the historian that I was with on this tour, what do those names represent? He said, 2,100 names are on these walls. Those were guys who's landed, who we never recovered, never found. 2,100. So their names are on the cemetery, in addition to the 9,300 white crosses. It's just beautiful. Half mile up the road, historian took me to the German cemetery. Chain link fence, no signs, with one at the gate. Every plot, John, is just a plot of land with a black stone. No identity, no nothing. It's just you see all these black stones in rows. Those are all the dead Germans. And I thought to myself, the symmetry, Americans, white crosses, the beauty, the stark contrast of the German cemetery with the black stone and no identity at all, who these people are or what their families know or don't know. It's absolutely. So that's my story. D-Day has always been special to me because my family is all military. Read my One Man's Opinion column. I hope it fills the day for you. And check out a ceremony on TV because it is, I think it's the greatest place on earth, and it means so much to democracy.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that you're a military historian. You went to the World War II Museum in New Orleans, right?
Yes.
And I remember you were telling me you really enjoyed that. But the question, since you were right there at Omaha Beach, how tall is that cliff that they had to scale up?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things. The beaches had bluffs above them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the military planning with Eisenhower and the invasion was our Air Force was going to bomb the bluffs because that's all where the gunnery emplacements were.
Mm-hmm.
But they had such bad weather, the Air Force missed their drops. They dropped them inland rather than on the coast, and they did not destroy the gun emplacements. And our guys were on these landing crafts, assuming there was all this firepower over our landing crafts from our ships, hopefully into the bluffs, blowing up everything on the beach because the beach was all landmined. And they thought they were getting off and they were going to be able to make a direct run right to the bluffs to get shelter. And instead, because nothing happened in terms of the Air Force knocking out what was above, I went and stood at low tide where the landing craft were dropping guys and looked. And it was a long run to get to the bluffs for these soldiers. And because the guns had not been knocked out, those guys came down the ramps and they got slaughtered. The fire was withering. The Germans had locations everywhere. So that was bluffs and all the firepower there. Down from Omaha Beach was a place called Pointe du Hoc, which was a huge mountain cliff. And that had all the big German 88 guns on it. Mm-hmm. Those were the guns that were firing on the landing craft. They were firing on our ships out at sea that were bringing the guys in. The Army Rangers took them 45 minutes. They scaled to the top of those bluffs, took 90% casualties at the beginning of the fight, scaled to the top of the bluffs, got behind and knocked out the 88s. And that was what really allowed us, our soldiers, to actually get to the beach, take it. And then our soldiers got up the rampways behind where the German encampments were on the bluffs, knocked them out. And then obviously all the other ships came. But the price paid was just unbelievable. It's 9,300 in the Normandy cemetery, and I think 3,000 died the first day. And, of course, there were all the other beaches. There's Utah, Gold, and Sword, and the British and the French and the Canadians landed in the other beaches, but Normandy was the one that took the brunt of the defense. So
And it's
it
80
was
years today, right?
80 years today. And there's hardly any of those guys left. But, if you're a traveler, and you should go to Normandy. I'll guarantee you, you will be speechless, and it'll change your view of democracy.
Well, I'm going now. You got me all fired up.
It was a great trip. And I wound up coupling that with Paris and going up to Le Havre, which was a great port community during the war for shipping, etc. So, hey, I appreciate you listening. I'd appreciate you going to my website. Just read my one man's opinion column. We hope you have enjoyed what we've done. Our podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers and by North County Eye Centers. John, great sports weekend ahead of us. Here come the NBA and NHL playoffs and the Padres homestand. We'll be back Monday at 1 p.m. to talk more.
We'll have plenty to talk about, Lee.
Have yourself a great sports weekend. Thank you so much for joining us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.